Hey guys. So I got some people worried about all of my birds with the heat, and rightly so. It's a good thing to be worried about. Right now we're averaging around 95 with a 80% humidity. It's miserable, quite miserable outside. And well, questions have arisen about my birds and what do I do when it's hot like this? And the answer is nothing. Birds, a lot like dogs, well, my dog in particular, they don't sweat, so they don't really generate, I guess you could say, a way to get rid of their body heat. Like we sweat. When we're hot, we dump a lot of water. It helps with evaporative cooling and cools us down. With dogs and birds and mostly every other animal, I think except horses, they don't sweat. So how do birds cool? And, well, there's a few answers to that. Let's flip around and I'll do some pointing. So, you can see here, I have a whole bunch of geese underneath my tree. This is a dogwood tree. It blooms nice white flowers in the spring. It's really pretty. And the geese like being under it. And they do this to stay out of the sun. So geese, you can think of them as like wearing their winter jacket all the time. But geese and other birds have the ability to puff out. So what they do is they puff all their feathers out, and that helps wind and water, if they want it to, get to their skin to help cool them off. Just through contact cooling, not through evaporative cooling, like we do. Now, they seek shade, they puff out, and they also find water. Being able to find water is something that helps cool them down. Some of you have seen my pond, and it's absolutely miserable looking, and there's a good reason for that. I plan to clean it out, but the geese have access to, well, let's call it the goose spa, and it's not many people. It seems like every time I say IBC, people look at me with a quizzical look on their face. An IBC is a 275-gallon water tank or tank that is used to transport fluids in bulk. It has a little valve on the bottom that you can open and close to drain out that fluid. But I use them in my case. So I'm actually just gonna walk over there real quick. So I'll show you the goose spa, and it looks disgusting, but it has a purpose, and nice flowing water is always filling it. So, even though it looks disgusting, it's always being overflowed to get out all the bulk of the nastiness. But the geese need to be able to swim during extremely hot weather. And this is the goose spa. So this is the bottom of an IBC. Well, actually, it's the top, sorry. So it's the top of an IBC. The sides folded over and made so they won't hurt themselves on it, with a constant supply of running water. And like I said, it keeps the doo-doo at a minimum. And, it's visible down to a couple inches. Good enough for Hawkeye to drink, apparently. And they get in here and cool off. So all birds, geese, chickens, ducks, they all pant as well. So panting is a way to cool off. We don't pant because we sweat. But panting is a way to cool off. And staying in the shade is a good way to cool off. And they do. You can see it's nice and shaded over here. So they hang out over here. They hang out underneath that dogwood tree up there. They take a dip into the goose spa. They sit under bushes. We had called at one point this big old bush over here, the butterfly bush, well, the clubhouse, sorry, it's a butterfly bush. But underneath of it is mostly empty. It's all show and no go. So the birds like to hang out underneath that, and I actually might expand this chicken area, I guess, to over there underneath that bush. But they all hang out underneath there too, and that's nice and shaded. It's, light doesn't really get through that at all. so they can really hang out underneath there. It's a good 15 to 20 degrees cooler under that bush than out in the shade. But the point I'm making, they do have plenty of ways to get out of the sun, to get out of the heat, and to cool down. In the time that I've been doing this, I've never had a bird die from heat exhaustion or overheating. Usually they get mauled by hawks and owls and stuff like that, but never heat. Even though, like I said, they're effectively wearing their winter jackets all year, they have ways to cool down. It's not really a concern. One of my viewers suggested I find a way to cool my pond. The problem I have with that, well, firstly, surface area, right? So surface area on a pond is pretty large. With the sun beating down on it, it heats up. Cooling something like that requires a lot of energy, and right now the electric bill ain't so nice on me because all the air conditioner's running and all that good stuff. But cooling that pond would have to be an expensive endeavor, and it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. Not unless I get hundreds and hundreds of dollars in donations rolling in. It's not something that's happening. It's one of those. It's a good idea, but unimplementable, right? Not going to implement it. Just is what it is. So we have to rely on natural things to take care of the birds: shade, panting, water, all that good stuff, fluffing out. But my birds are doing just fine. Even so, like the chickens, for example. Chickens have adapted. These are leghorns. So you'll notice the combs are large and floppy. There's a large floppy. They don't just make big old combs for show. So there's what's called hot weather chickens and cold weather chickens. And I wish I had one of the barred rocks around here, because barred rocks have little itty bitty combs, even as an adult, little tiny guys. And those are called cold weather chickens because that comb doesn't act as a heat dissipator. Whereas the leghorns, with their combs that can reach, massive sizes, bigger than their head, and they get so big that they flop over, those work very well for heat dissipation. So those combs are very vascularized, and they pump a lot of blood through them, which is why when roosters fight each other, it looks like they're absolutely killing each other. Let's go over here. There's a barred rock sitting there. I wonder if he'll run away. Yeah, he's going to run away. So you can see kind of on that barred rock, little bitty comb. And it's not because it's a chick, it's just a little tiny comb. They're called pea combs or walnut combs, and they don't get very big at all. So barred rocks are good for cold weather because they won't get frostbite on them. And leghorns are good for hot weather because they can dissipate heat well. So yeah, I know the heat's concerning. Even the Muscovy ducks have a way to do it. They can control all the feathers on their head and fluff them up when they get excited, and they can fluff all the feathers up on their bodies to help vent off some of that heat. And you often see chickens walking around, imagine my hands or body. What they'll do is they'll spread both their wings out like this, and take their little chicken feet and walk around. So they're walking around like that. I know that looks stupid, like some sort of gang sign, but it's the best I can do. So what that does is actually allows the heat to escape from underneath their wings when it's really hot, and it helps, and they stay alive. So your concerns are valid, but these guys do just fine. There's no real reason to worry about the heat. And besides that, Maryland isn't one of the states that would be considered, I guess, dangerously hot. There's a few weeks in late July and early August where you just don't want to be outside at all, just because you can suffer heat stroke. But for the majority of the year, it's not like that. Consider moving to Florida or North Carolina, South Carolina, some of them places down there. It's miserable. And you talk about the Midwest states or the southern states like Arizona and Nevada with the temperatures there, and everybody's like, oh, it's a dry heat. Yeah, but you know, when you hit 120 degrees, it still freaking kill you, even if it's a dry heat. Maryland just isn't like that. So we have a couple days during the summer that are just miserable hot, miserable humid, and then it goes away. And right now we're in that kind of spell where it's just no fun to be outside for even 10 minutes. So, but it'll get better relatively quick. Give it another 2 or 3 weeks and, you know, we'll be in, I don't know, what's today? Yeah, another week we'll be in August, another 2 and 3 weeks we'll be in September. 4 weeks. I know how to count, I promise. We'll be in September and it'll start cooling off, and then I'll have to worry about all the snow and all the shit freezing again. Yay. So, thank you. Your concerns are valid. I just wanted to make a video to say that I'm listening, but it's not an issue. I promise. It'll be fine. Thank you, and have a good day.